Devynn Emory is a New York-based choreographer, dancer, healthcare worker, nurse, body practitioner, whose work with the body in many different forms informs the artistic work that they do.
Dance is at the center of all of my work. It's only been in the last 8 years since I began nursing school that I began bringing in some of the medical work and the healing work. Dance has always been the focus. A lot of my work focuses on bringing people into their bodies or back to their bodies and returning home to their bodies. As a trans person, that makes sense all the time. As an indigenous mixed person, that makes sense all the time.
Devynn came to see in their medical training how patient simulating mannequins stand in for people and actually play this very important role in training. And so their choreographic work moved actually to working with these mannequins and thinking about many forms of bridging different dimensions. One important one is the one between life and death.
It was a huge culture shock for me to go from being a healer and working in Eastern medicine to come to Western medicine, as we call it. So these mannequins became my muse and my ally, and I began working with them pretty shortly after nursing school, to the point where I thought maybe I went to nursing school just to meet these medical mannequins. Grandmother Cindy is part 2 of a trilogy called My Mannequin Friends, surrounding and centering medical mannequins. So Grandmother Cindy is a multimedia performance with projection, sound, performance. So Grandmother Cindy invites multiple practices in how to take care of a body at the end of a life.
I think in Devynn's work, and they would be able to say this much better, but I think there is a sort of display of kind of ideal care, where it would be with so much empathy and beauty and kind of formal procedural understanding that you see because Devynn's a fantastic dancer and choreographer, you see that.
As an artist, I care a lot about the process. Sometimes the process is more important to me than the product. Lately, I feel like I've been pulling some of that sensation of the process into the audience experience and hoping that they too then can feel really included in some of that process.
There's some blooming and addition that happened to the grandmother figure during the course of the show that I think speak both viscerally and physically, but also metaphorically of kind of potentialities of changed state. And I think that does sort of open up portals for conceiving and thinking about these kinds of passages that inevitably happen.
I don't envision bodies differently than I envision land. I believe we are the same. And so to really have a practice of honoring a body decomposing and then recreating life is such a beautiful process. And in order to honor that, we need to then respect the land that we live on and take care of it and nurture it. And so those two are really in conversation with each other all the time. And so I really want this work to invite people into that as a practice.